Amir had always felt different, but he couldn't quite put his finger on why. Growing up in a small, conservative town, he knew from a young age that he was unique in ways he didn't fully understand. While other boys talked about typical teenage struggles, Amir wrestled with a secret that he couldn't share with anyone. Amir was born with female reproductive organs. Despite his outwardly male appearance, he knew his body didn't align with how others perceived him. It was something his parents had kept from him until he was old enough to understand, but even then, they didn't quite have the words to explain it. As a child, Amir faced confusion and fear. He wondered why his body didn't function like his friends, or why he felt so out of place in his own skin. But Amir was resilient. He spent hours researching, reading about people like him, and learning to embrace the fact that he was intersex, a term that described his unique physical traits. In his teenage years, Amir's journey became even more complicated. The changes in his body were different from what the other boys experienced, but he kept his head high and focused on his passions. He was a talented artist, finding solace in painting and drawing. Through his art, he expressed the emotions he couldn't verbalize, the struggle, the confusion, but also the quiet strength he had developed over the years. By the time he reached adulthood, Amir had learned to accept himself. He met people who supported him, who understood that being different didn't mean being lesser. Amir found a community of others who were intersex, who shared their experiences and struggles. This gave him the courage to live authentically, not hiding or feeling ashamed of who he was. Amir also discovered that his unique perspective on life was a gift. He had a deep empathy for others who felt out of place in the world, and he used his art to tell stories of identity, acceptance, and love. His work resonated with many, providing a voice for those who felt voiceless. One day, Amir decided to share his story publicly. He wrote a memoir, detailing his journey of self-discovery and acceptance. The book was met with both praise and criticism, but Amir was unfazed. He knew that his story could help others who were struggling, just as he had once struggled. Amir's journey wasn't without challenges, but he faced them with dignity and strength. He became an advocate for intersex rights, working to educate others about the diversity of human biology and the importance of accepting people for who they are, not what society expects them to be. In the end, Amir's story was one of triumph, not because he overcame his differences, but because he learned to embrace them. He showed the world that being different was not something to be ashamed of, but something to be celebrated. Through his courage, Amir inspired countless others to live their truth, no matter how unconventional it might be. Amir had achieved so much in his journey toward self-acceptance, but deep down, there was one desire that remained unfulfilled, a desire for love, companionship, and the dream of a family. Despite his accomplishments and the respect he garnered from his community, Amir felt a profound loneliness that gnawed at him each day. He had fallen in love once, with a woman named Layla. She was kind, understanding, and saw Amir for who he truly was, a compassionate and talented man. Their connection was instant, and for a time, Amir believed he had found someone with whom he could share his life. But as their relationship grew more serious, the question of marriage inevitably arose. Amir knew that his condition would make it impossible to have children in the traditional sense. He feared how Layla would react when he explained the complexities of his body, and even more, he feared the societal pressures they would face if they decided to marry. When Amir finally gathered the courage to tell Layla the truth, her initial shock quickly gave way to understanding. She assured him that it didn't change her feelings for him. But Amir couldn't shake the feeling that he was burdening her with a future that wasn't what she deserved. He began to doubt whether he could truly give her the life she wanted, and these doubts festered within him. Amir's fears were only amplified by the reactions of others when they heard about their relationship. Gossip spread like wildfire, and even though Layla stood by him, the weight of the community's judgment became too much for Amir to bear. He was constantly reminded that he was different, that he couldn't fulfill the traditional role of a husband, and that their future would always be fraught with challenges. One evening, after another heated argument about their future, Amir found himself alone in his studio, surrounded by his paintings. The colors that once brought him peace now felt muted and dull. The silence in the room was deafening, echoing his own feelings of inadequacy and despair. As he stared at a blank canvas, Amir felt a surge of anger and frustration. He had fought so hard to accept himself, yet the world around him still made him feel like an outsider. The love he craved seemed unattainable, and the future he dreamed of felt impossible. In that moment, the weight of his struggles became too much to bear. Amir's thoughts turned dark as he wrestled with the reality that no matter how much he achieved, no matter how many people he inspired, he would never be able to live the life he truly wanted. The pain of this realization consumed him, and in a moment of despair, Amir made a tragic decision. The next morning, Layla found Amir in his studio, the once vibrant space now filled with an unbearable stillness. He had taken his own life, leaving behind a world that he felt would never truly accept him. Amir's death sent shockwaves through his community. The man who had been a beacon of strength and acceptance was gone, leaving behind a legacy of both inspiration and sorrow. His story became a powerful reminder of the importance of understanding, compassion, and the dire consequences of societal rejection. Layla, heartbroken and grieving, vowed to continue Amir's work. She dedicated herself to advocating for intersex rights, telling Amir's story to ensure that others like him would not feel the same loneliness and despair. Through her efforts, Amir's message of acceptance lived on, sparking conversations and changes that he had only dreamed of. In death, Amir became a symbol of both the beauty and tragedy of being different. His story, though filled with pain, also carried a message of hope, a hope that one day, the world would be a place where everyone, regardless of their differences, could find love, acceptance, and a place to belong.